All right, let's see if we get live again. I'm on Facebook. All right, looks like I'm live again. Sorry about that. So we're gonna, just for those, I'm probably gonna delete the old one when I get a chance, but so I'm gonna just kind of repeat some of the stuff that I've already told you. Hi again, everyone. So today what I want to do is I want to share with you one of the quietest profit drains for a lot of firms, and that's low utilization. Many firms are always telling me how busy they are, and yet they're constantly seeing inconsistency in their profits. Utilization is often this missing link for that and explains why they're seeing this. So what I want to do is I want to walk through with you what it is, which kind of already did last week, but we're going to read it again, what it is, why it matters, and what it's going to tell you about your team and your profitability. I'm going to focus on 5 ways that it matters for you. The first one being the capacity clarity. Sorry, trying to get my tongue's getting tied here. So the first one is your utilization rate, of course, is going to tell you how much legal work your team can actually handle with the people you already have. So most firms, they start thinking, oh my gosh, I need to go hire because everybody's feeling overwhelmed, everybody's busy. And you just start thinking, okay, yeah, we're all at capacity, so um, we need to hire somebody else to fill in all these new gaps or whatever. But if you run a utilization rate first and see what's going on, it's going to help give you more clarity, which is why this is called capacity clarity. You want that clarity first because we need to see if your bottleneck is actually headcount or is it actually how people are spending their time. Because if they're not spending the time in the right direction, you're just going to keep running in this over and over and over again. And then you're going to end up with a lot of overhead, in particular labor, and your labor margins are going to get really out of whack. So before you make a hiring decision, I strongly recommend you run a utilization so you can get this clarity and decide, is it really somebody else that I need to have, or do I need better processes? Do I need to allocate, delegate, etc., in a better manner? The next one is your profit leveraging. So boosting your utilization usually is going to increase your profits a lot faster than just trying to chase out some revenue. And the reason is that because your existing team, when they increase the percentage of time they're actually spending on legal work, then you're going to generate more value without having to increase that payroll. And that's huge. Nobody really wants to increase expenses when you're already kind of plateauing or you're already inconsistent with your revenues. So you really want to kind of focus in on this and see if that's not what the area that you're needing to kind of hone in and start making changes. So you consider this like really a high, one of your highest level points, leveraging points, excuse me. So this can, like I said, I mentioned the revenue plateau. Can be really especially true for you. The next thing, of course, is going to be your role design and delegation, which of course ties to what I've already said. So utilization rate helps shine the light on those so you can really see who's doing the legal work and who's doing too much admin work that maybe they shouldn't be. Maybe an attorney, if they're spending more than half of their day doing emails, scheduling, chasing down documents, or things like that, it's going to reflect in this utilization rate. And then that can tell you, how to adjust your roles if you need to delegate more to support staff, if you need to implement better systems, processes, things of that nature. You want your legal team to really be able to work in their zone of expertise, or their zone of genius. And I'm going to just iterate on this one. If you're familiar with or if you're not familiar with The 6 Types of Working Genius by Patrick Lencioni, I highly recommend that because the more you have your team working in their zone of genius, the more you're going to see this utilization rate go up. So the other thing, again, tying to that is the burnout prevention. A lot of people don't realize that you can have a really low utilization with lots and lots of hours being put in. Don't just assume that that's a sign of laziness. Usually what that's giving you an indication of is inefficiencies. Um, in what's happening on your team. So if your team is constantly working long hours, but they're just not producing a lot of billable or casework, etc., and it just seems like it's getting worse, or you're just stalemating on it, so to speak, understand they are on a fast track to burnout, and you want to find this before it becomes a bigger problem, because the bigger problem is then you're constantly having the revolving door. Nobody likes that, right? So you want a good team, build them up, and finding out the utilization rate, it can help put you in that direction. Now, with all this said, I want to give you some general targets to use as context while you're evaluating your team. We're going to start with managing partners. Of course, the managing partner, they don't have to have as high as a rate as everyone else, because they're managing. They're having to do a lot more than just the casework, right? So you want to aim for somewhere between 60 to 70% for these folks. But then when you start getting to your senior or your staff attorneys, and even your paralegals, you want all of them to be somewhere in the 75 to 85% range. That puts, that's ensuring that the majority of the work that they're working on is actually casework, which again is going to produce everything else I've mentioned. I don't want to reiterate everything the same. But yeah, just make sure that those are high. Of course, notice that these numbers still give room for, there's going to be some things that they're going to have to do that's not directly related to casework. It's not like they can't check their emails ever, things like that. But you still want to find out what that is. And if you check last week's video, I actually explain and walk through some steps that you can take. And of course, we're going to be on this topic for at least 2 more weeks. So come back and hear what I've got to say to that. I'll kind of be reiterating how to calculate that and work that with your team. All right, so that's what we got for you today. So let me ask you a question. Which is more of a concern for your firm right now? Low utilization or high overhead, and why? And if you're only thinking about overhead, have you run a utilization rate? If you haven't, I highly recommend that you do. I want you to drop your answers in the comments, or you can send me a direct message. I love to hear what firm owners are handling. And if you want help to get kind of figure out what your next step needs to be, reach out, let us know. Also, if you want to know more about this KPI and other KPIs to track for your firm, we're going to drop a link in the comments for our mini guide called Where's My Money Going? It covers 4 major KPIs, including this one. If you found this video helpful, can you do me a favor? Can you like it for me so that we know that you're enjoying what we're giving to you? Until then, I'm going to see you next week. I do hope you have a great weekend. Bye now.